Hello guys and welcome to this new video. I want to quickly show you how I made this orchestral emotive track using only Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover and Spitfire felt piano. Okay, just to tell you the story of this track, it's a cover, or better, it's a medley of some themes from Kingdom Hearts, a video game, and the music was originally composed by Yoko Shimomura. So I originally wrote this a couple of years ago, and I used the East-West Composer Cloud. So when I decided to remake this with BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover last week, I just took the East-West project, replaced all the instrument with the Spitfire instruments, and then rewrote all the modulation and expression automation and adjust some note length and even some minor orchestration issues. So I didn't tweak it that much. So there are some other orchestration issues because, yeah, back then I wasn't so good. I'm still not so good. So yeah, 2 years ago it was worse. Okay, so anyway, just to quickly show you what we're talking about, this is the felt piano. It's 29 euros on Spitfire website, and I love it. I think I don't use any other piano for emotive and intimate tracks. It's really great. And then we have the BBC. As you can see, you have all the preset within one GUI, and it's great because even if you don't understand or it's your first time you're approaching orchestral music, you have an overview of how the orchestra really works. So you have the first violins here, and you see it's a larger section. The second violins, it's a smaller section. Violas, which is even smaller than the second violin, but for graphical purposes, probably they left it like this. The cellos and the basses. And then you can really try to imagine how the orchestra is in front of you. So you have all the woodwinds over here, the the percussions back on the back of the orchestra, and horns on the left and all the other brasses on the right. So this is your position. You are the conductor. So with Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover, you only get a pre-mixed sound. So what you hear is a mix made, I don't remember who made it, but anyway, it's a pre-mixed version, while with BBC Symphony Orchestra Professional, you get all the various microphones. So, as I said, 49 euros all free. Okay, so let's talk about the limitation of this library. First of all, you get only 2 or 4 articulation per each instrument. You don't get soloists, and you don't get round robins. Round robins is when you repeatedly press a note. Usually, professional libraries change sample. So round robin is a change in sample on repeated notes. In BBC Core, it has round robins of 8 samples, I think. But here on BBC Discover, you just don't get round robins, so you're only triggering the same sample. And you can hear it on staccato. It's like bam, 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 bam. Second, you don't get dynamic layers, so all you can do is use modulation and expression to widen the dynamic range of the instrument. That's a trick I actually use to make it sound more natural. Okay, so let's go and listen to some of these instruments. So as you can see, I pretty much used all the orchestra, maybe didn't use some tuned percussion and harp, but it's okay. I could replace piano with harp, but it would mean to rewrite it from scratch. Okay, so I've had to freeze all the tracks because screen capture, and even if it's a small, not so small ensemble anyway, but it's pretty CPU demanding. Not so much RAM demanding, but more CPU, since they have even some processing on the master bus. That's actually very important. So let's take a listen to some random parts. For example, Alto Flute. So the difficulty here was to, since the song has some very lyrical lines, very emotive and dynamic passages, challenging the limitation of this library was really difficult. So as you can listen, if I put on solo, for example, the flute, you can hear it lacks some legato transitions. It's a bit unnatural. Fortunately, using some reverb, you can fake some legato effect. So let's hear the woodwind section together and see how it sounds. So as you can hear, there's a lot of dynamic work. It's really, really important to use both modulation and expression, especially with this kind of libraries. Let's take a listen at the end, which is a very busy part, and you have also staccatos on the alto flute. Okay, let's listen. Okay, as you can hear, these piccolo staccato runs are way fake. You hear it's fake. It's very synthetic because you don't have run patches. So, but overall, when all the orchestra comes in, you don't hear it that much as fake. It sounds pretty natural. That's because, some frequencies are covered by other frequencies in other instruments, so it works. Let's go on now and listen to some strings. So strings were the most difficult part because they have lots of lyrical and legatos parts, which we can't have legato in this library, so it's really, really difficult. And in this track, strings were meant to be very, very dynamic. And since we don't have lots of dynamics in this library, it was really, really challenging making them sound good. So now let's take a listen to the point where it's also bass are playing. I think bass sound is majestic. And as you can hear, if you listen just to the strings, you can hear there's something odd. But as I said before, when you put everything together, this oddness, it's not so audible anymore. Oh, anyway, pizzicatos are great. Especially bass pizzicato is so deep, really great. Okay, so as you can see here, I just doubled the alto flute staccato with violins and the piccolo with the first violin. Viola is doing some counter melody, probably for the first part, some counter melody. Then there's viola staccato at the octave below, doubling the violin staccatos, the runs. So, and then there is the violas doubling the melody also. Cello and bass doing the bass line, and bassoon too. So some basic, layer orchestration. Okay, moving on to brass. Okay, so we have a lot of brass in the second part, some bass trombone during the first part, because originally I had a contrabassoon, but there's no contrabassoon on this library, so I use the bass trombone for this part. Okay, so let's hear to some trumpets. I love the trumpets, really. I really like it, trumpets in this library. Okay, so as I already said, you can hear there's something odd if you listen to them in solo, but you have to keep in mind the big picture. You don't have legatos. For example, on French horn, legato is mandatory, but you don't have it here. So you can hear there's something odd going on, but once you put all together, everything will fit. Okay, so percussion. I used to have on this big epic finale some great percussion when I originally made this track, with some rolls and big booms, and this library really misses lots of this stuff. But you can fake, for example, some bass and cymbal rolls doing this. Yes, it sounds fake as hell, but once you place everything together, you can't hear it anymore. You just hear the swelling cymbal and the swelling bass drum. So I always like to say that libraries and instruments in general, even in music instrument, are instruments. They are as good as the user. So if you keep in mind some tricks and spend a lot of time tweaking automations and even tweaking the master bus. Let's take a listen to my track without all the processing. I repeat this epic finale without all the processing. Instead, I just leave the limiter to keep the same volume more or less. As you can hear, it's muddier and lacks details. I didn't add that much. I just add some compression with the supercharger. You get it for free with Contact Player and from Native Instrument. I use this Valhalla Supermassive which is free. They gave it for free. The Bright Room preset. I didn't want a really long reverb, just a bit, because the Spitfire library has a built-in a great sounding built-in room, but it wasn't enough for me. I had some saturation, not hitting this one very much, but this really helps bringing out clarity in the high hands. But you have to be careful not to use it that much. I really use it a lot in rock production, but in orchestral you have to be extra careful. Too much distortion, too much saturation could really ruin your sound. Listen. We don't want that. We just want some extra punch and some extra detail on the high hand. Now I turn it off. It gave us a boost in volume and some extra detail on the high end. Then I use some multiband compression. You know, just to keep control on low end and remove some mudiness in the mid-range only when it's necessary. Then I use this EQ from Acoustica Audio, which it was free and it's pretty great. It sounds really cool. And then from Filter Pro L, giving some extra boost and limiting the whole track. So now there's too much saturation. I can hear it. Okay, so this is an overview of this library and a couple of tricks you can do to make it sound better. It sounds great for free, or even for 49 euros. It's a pretty solid library. It's really great if you're, as I said, if you're going into orchestral music and really know nothing or few things, just go for this library. Don't spend a lot of money on, for example, on Nucleus. I'm going to do another video for another track on Nucleus, and Nucleus is great sounding library. It's more or less like Symphony Orchestra Discover, but this one for $49 or for free, it's really, really great value for money, or for no money. And even if you get it for free and then you want to upgrade to core, you still get the upgrade discount. So really don't miss this. Okay, so I think I said everything. You can find the link to the whole track with piano roll in the description below. I'll see you in the next videos. Okay, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe so you can be notified when other video comes out. See ya.